So here at the vision stage at GreenTech, we're now talking about the rising importance of sustainability in the ornamental industry, flowers and pot plants. And I'm delighted to be describing a roadmap for the future, perhaps here with Henk van Tuijl from KUBO, with Marcel Sanfiet from the Dutch Flower Group, and joining us online is Tim Briercliffe from AIPH. Hello, gentlemen. Tim, we're going to start with you, if that's okay. Just tell us a little bit about the context in which we're discussing right now. Sustainability when it comes to the ornamental industry. Is it really just sort of CSR marketing?
You know, what we are seeing is that for sustainability, every business in a way has to be sustainable. It's a definition of what means a business can be successful, is to be sustainable. And yet, to be able to achieve that means you have to look at a bigger picture. Our product is by nature something which is contributing to the benefit of the planet. We're producing products which are positive for reducing the impact of climate change, helping our planet adapt to that. And the supply chain has to match up to that message. And so sustainability has to include aspects on action on climate, on reducing carbon footprint. It has to be involved in the promotion of biodiversity. It has to be active in sustainable sourcing, in issues including the circular economy, in reducing plastics, in improving efficiency, in managing water, pesticides, growing media, ethical trading, and all of these areas which need to be a vital part of a sustainable business for the future.
And of course, flowers and pot plants play a big role in our lives, brightening them up, making those special moments as well. Do some people perhaps consider it in a sustainability context as a luxury rather than a necessity?
Yeah, maybe you can see it like that, but I think, as Tim also describes, is a lot of healthy elements also too, and to well-being. I think looking at the trends, also, well-being is very important, and plants and flowers play a very important role. So to that, I think I also agree with what Tim says. Sustainability in that matter is a very big subject and looks very complex.
Well, what are sort of the key elements of what you are doing towards sustainability?
Yeah, sustainability, as we all know, is a very important issue, and customers that are considering to invest in a greenhouse are making this decision for the next 10, 15, 20 years to come. So it's absolutely very important to think ahead. And in our case, when we design our greenhouse projects, basically there is two components. First one, of course, is a technical design to make this as efficient as possible. And secondly, you have to consider very carefully about maintenance and operation, how you can do that in a very efficient way. And generally, the most efficient way is often also the most sustainable way.
But Tim, from an investment perspective, investing in these technologies which only have a very long-term result, how do you justify that also in the sustainability context?
Yeah, and that is a big challenge, because we're in an industry where margins are tight, where business can be tough. It's hard to make those big decisions. But the reality is that this is how industry is moving, and to be able to make changes that are sustainable, every change you make is going to have a knock-on effect somewhere else in your business, and it needs to really encompass all aspects. So investment is necessary, but of course you have to plan that in. But the market for the future is going to need that, and if you leave it late, then it will be difficult to address all the other issues that need to be addressed for every sustainability change.
And Marcel, now it's time, I think, to look at the program. Let's have the chart up on the screen here, which shows that this is not sustainability, not something which you just thought of yesterday.
We've been on a journey since I was joining Dutch Flower Group 10 years ago. We started really from scratch to really see what are now the main aspects to drive sustainability to the future. So it's nothing new. I think also for a lot of growers, it's not a new subject, especially not in our sector, as environmental aspects are very important for many years, of course. We need to know how the environmental impacts are of all our behavior. And from that, this family of companies, as Dutch Flower Group has about 33 companies, we've joined, made a program, and just started. That ended up 10 years later in this chart, as you see it. We've now 3 pillars, which are the main drivers for us to work on. From those two, let's say the 2 steps we took from the past until now, the 3 pillars are really emphasizing which are the elements that I think for the whole sector are important. And that's something about transparency, because it starts all with explaining what you're doing. And then the second one is that it goes around people. We have people in our chain working, so it goes about working conditions, but also about how you act ethically within the chain. And the last one is, of course, the planet, which comes also what Henk says about growing. Growing you can do in a very sustainable way as you look upon this CO2 footprint. So all those elements we've put together in the program with 9 separate projects. And for us, it's very, very important. That's also why I'm glad to be here, to emphasize it's not just from me or just from Henk or just Tim. It's something from the sector itself. And there are a lot of ways we work already on those topics. And just to say that FSI, Floriculture Sustainability Initiative, has started already in 2012 with a lot of international members to join forces to work on projects. And recently in 2019 in Holland, the IMVO Covenant or the IRBC agreement has been signed, which also addressed topics for international change. And it's really hands and heads together.
Henk, when you see a program like that, you have heard a lot of conversations around sustainability. And I imagine that the impetus and the detail has changed dramatically over the last, let's say, 10 years. So I imagine that's the case. I bet that helps a lot for KUBO and for you to, really work towards those sustainability programs of your clients.
I agree. I really think that for many of our customers, as for a lot of people in general, sustainability in the past was something more like a marketing issue or something for the future. But now the urgency has become more clear, and a bigger percentage of, let's say, the population is underlining this urgency. And that helps indeed, for what we do. And basically, a greenhouse or a greenhouse production for plants, vegetables, you name it, is very efficient and sustainable already.
But Tim, that's not the only element in the entire sustainability chain, if we want to call it that. But there are certain organically grown perhaps deficits or weaknesses in the system, from what I understand. Is it time to just break that system completely, start again from scratch?
Well, I don't think it's so easy to start again from scratch. The system that we're working with in the industry, of course, is one that has developed and evolved and been improved and everything over time. And you cannot just start from scratch. But what you do need to do is to look at the chain and look at where the impacts are and what changes can be made in a way that will also make a sustainable business. It's no good to be able to change something which completely makes a big sustainable difference, but then your business collapses. The changes that you're going to make, you might look at issues like your use of plastics, the type of growing media and the sustainability of the media that you use, how you can improve efficiency of your water, how you will reduce pesticides. But you will do these things a piece at a time. And our industry has been doing that. It's not just starting now. Our industry has been addressing these issues seriously for a long time. And we are just seeing now the profile of this really mattering so much more for the sector, which is why initiatives like the Floriculture Sustainability Initiative are so important for our industry. But no, it's not going to scrap it and start again. It has to look at it piece by piece and to build it.
If you look at what sustainability should be today, not the future, but today, how far are we from 0 to 10?
Well, that is a really difficult question. I think because it's not consistent on a global level. As AIPH, we're an international association, and we've recently carried out a survey of our members to assess attitudes to sustainability in different countries. We'll be giving the results of that at the conference, AIPH Sustainability Conference tomorrow, which we're doing along with Green Tech on the Green Tech program. And you will see from that there is a real range and a diversity in it. So some Northern European countries supplying multiple retailers where they have been checking this for a long time will be right up there. And others in other parts of the world, this is still getting onto the list of things that need to be tackled. So I think to give a global score is impossible. But what I see is a real willingness and interest, because by nature, those working in our industry are working with natural products. There is an enthusiasm for this.
That's a fantastic reply, and no, really great. The Dutch Flower Group, I assume, concurs?
When I look at the 3 pillars, to be honest, Andrew, I was just thinking I can give a little score. And I want to make a compliment, as I'm here, to a lot of growers across the globe, because in the bigger volume, we see that, for example, in transparency, we use the FSI basket of standards on environmental and social that's related to international benchmarks. And we see a very high percentage from 2013, when we started with the FSI initiative, until now. And we see it growing by year. So a lot of growers are giving more transparency, working on elements to grow within the certificates to do things that really contribute to a higher sustainability. So looking at what we already achieved in all those years, I think we've made steps. But also one of the parts that I'm here is that I see a lot of groups, we call it segments of flower and plant selling companies across the globe, like florists, for example, who are not in that field yet. So I really want to ask all parties across the globe who sell flowers and plants to maybe learn about it more, join forces in the initiatives that are there to make sure that we grow together in a faster pace than today. But until now, I think a big compliment for a lot of growers who've done big steps on all the sets that we said in the pillars that we've shown.
So on your wish list for building sustainability, that is obviously right at the top. Join forces.
Correct.
And please get involved and engaged no matter where you are in the value chain.
Correct.
What's number 2?
I think a lot of more smiles we need. Yeah, because we do well. So sometimes we look too much to the negatives. And I think, as Tim says, we do a lot with the flowers and plants we do across the globe.
Okay, Henk, to your side and your wish list, when you're thinking of your clients, what is your one wish list in their direction in terms of helping you to become even more sustainable in the technological solutions that you're applying?
I really feel that we are at quite a high level of efficiency and sustainability already. So our customers do as much as they can to make their systems, to invest in their systems and to make them efficient. Big steps can be made, I think, still in operation, right? Yeah. So as a company, we are really investing a lot in collecting data and making sure that you use this data to really operate your facilities as correct as possible. And probably that is something that our customers are embracing step by step. So probably there is still a bit to gain. But it's also a joint effort because we cooperate with companies in our chain, and we are moving quite well on that path. So that could be a positive change.
Tim, in order to join forces, it's important as well to kind of get together in one room, and that's something which obviously you are chiefly responsible for. But I'm just assuming right now that the Dutch expertise is something that can be benchmarked well. How can you really ensure that best practice in certain areas of the world is transmitted into action in other areas of the world?
Yeah, this is good because you're right that the Netherlands has certainly been a leader in addressing these issues. Often it's been stimulated initially by some of the customer demand from multiple retailers that they're supplying, but it's led to a real build-up of expertise. And one of the key things that each business needs to do, of course, is to be able to footprint itself, to understand what its sustainability issues are, and then to see where the demand is and the costs associated with that. And sharing it internationally is interesting. In our conference tomorrow, we have a panel which includes representatives from Europe, but also someone from Ball Horticulture in the US. And Susanna Ball is going to talk about their experience in a in a country where that customer demand is not so much there for some of those changes. And so I think in North America, you're seeing that shift, and you're starting to see that change more. But then in other areas around the world where you've got some developing countries maybe supplying product into Europe, they're quite advanced in many ways in some of the sustainability initiatives they take. But there are other areas, Asia, for example, where where sustainability is viewed differently, and the use of plants in the landscape is often more of the focus rather than in the production chain itself. And I think this is where we see that development of some of those practices within that side of the chain coming more. So I think the industry has to really look inside itself and take that long-term interest of not just on what the consumer's looking for, but to learn from what is being done, especially in the Netherlands and in Northern Europe, and how we can adapt that to learn from that in other parts of the world.
Marcel, on that point, the Dutch Flower Group, I'm sure, is very keen to talk about its sustainability ethos and the philosophies which you have. On the other side as well, you're empowering your competitors if you share in that kind of a platform. How do you balance that expertise sharing?
Yeah, we don't see it like that, to be honest. As FSI is an open initiative, and the same applies to that IBC agreement that I just mentioned. It's just a topic that we need to address together. I can give you one very actual example. A lot of people know when you buy a bouquet, you have greens in the bouquet. It's called foliage or decorative greens. That is not to be certified today, so you cannot get a GAP certificate for it. In this case, we said we need to address it because we need, when we sell a bouquet at the end, we need to explain, be transparent about where it's coming from and is it really treated well. So we joined forces. We made the initiative to get Wild Harvest as a project in, and we joined forces with the other green suppliers. And to be honest, when you see people joining forces and sharing that expertise, it's for the better world. It's not because we want to earn more or something. If you share the knowledge at the end, it's not in the competing area anymore.
FSI stands for what, and how can people join up there?
It's a Floriculture Sustainability Initiative, and it's an international initiative. They settle in Brussels. You can look up at fsi2025.com.
FSI2025.com.
Yes, and you see how you can become a member.
You have encouraged people to join up also in the retail side of things. So that's magnificent. How do you ensure that sustainability in your operations is as high as it possibly can be? And what do you want from Henk to help maybe make that work even better than it already is?
What we've done the past 2 years is to get a good feel, as they call it, zero measurement on our footprinting ourselves. Of course, we have our own companies with production locations where we make the bouquets, put the plants on the private label we do, etc. What we have done is we made a zero measurement of our footprint, and that's scope 1 and 2. And what we're now aiming for is to get closer to growers to also work on that scope 3, to get insights in what's the footprint at the moment and what can we do to lower it. And what I would ask Henk is that we don't have too much knowledge, to be honest, about what we can do maybe to get it more CO2 neutral even within the system that you sell, because it's not just a greenhouse, you sell a system. With the data we collect on the scope 1 and 2 on footprint and the scope 3 we will need from our growers, I think Henk and his colleagues probably can add to that, to share that data and to make sure that we get insights to work on to reducing it.
Now, it's almost like an open door, so thanks for offering this. Indeed, growing, producing in a greenhouse is something that's happening a lot, and people have their picture of it. What we see is that often a grower, the operator of the greenhouse, is using his gut feelings and probably a bit of experience and intuition to operate the greenhouse, to make the settings, to make sure everything runs. And the big step that is made and being made, we are investing quite a bit of time and efforts in that. We have our Blue Lab research greenhouse where we actually make steps now. That is in collecting real information, so not gut feelings, but data, and analyze this data and use that information to really operate the greenhouse. And by doing that, you will make more scientific decisions in your settings and in your heating, your cooling, etc. And that is giving quite unexpected results sometimes, and definitely making a next step in efficiency and thus in more sustainable use of your resources.
Let's include Tim in the wish list. And you mentioned something in the rehearsal, Marcel, about speaking with one voice and also sort of having some kind of a level of standards or some way of just being able to interrelate globally in this particular case. So I guess, may I formulate it for you that your wish to Tim is as well to help reinforce that one voice for the whole sector, which I'm sure is probably right at the top of your mission statement anyway, Tim, is it?
Yeah, absolutely. And we're also members of FSI, because it's really important that we move together on this. And of course, the way of certification is the foundation of FSI, and how we can ensure that consistency and knowledge of building sustainability through certification across the world, and to get through this benchmark approach, we're able to get everyone to the same level and to understand. So you have to be able to measure and to be able to monitor, to be able to then make the changes that move on. I think absolutely one voice is there. Our job in AIPH is to bring together grower organisations from around the world and to share between them. What you'll see at the conference tomorrow is many growers and participants just sharing what they've been doing, the difficult bits and the good bits, and how we can move forward together. And that openness in this topic is essential if we're going to really make an impact on sustainability globally. It's not a secret business issue anymore. It's too important for that. It's something which matters to the world, and we have a responsibility and a prime position to be able to make that change.
And with that strong voice for us, one voice and a call to action and also some exchange here, we're going to close the session. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for your time.